and His Holiness is on his way to the stage. So I wonder if you'd join with me, please, in welcoming His Holiness to our National Tennis Centre by putting your hands together and applauding.
Brothers and sisters, indeed, I am very happy to be here and great honor to speak quite a big gathering. Tonight, I am going to speak something on the spiritual value. You see, there I will make two levels about spiritual. Now, basically, our aim is, I think, happy life. That's everyone. You see, they have that kind of feeling. And then, and also I think purpose of our life is, I think, happiness, happy life. That is the purpose of our life. The reason is quite clear. When you see our hope lost, then you see depressions and also sometimes suicidal things happen. So therefore, the very existence of our life is very much based on hope. Although there is no guarantee about the future, but because hope, you see, our life, you see, remain continuously like that way. So therefore, the purpose of our life, we can say the happiness is our goal. Now then, human being, you know, we are not mission product. We are not you see, the mission product. We are something more than just a mere matter. We have a feeling, we have an experience. So for that, the material comfort alone not sufficient. We need something deeper. That's usually I call human affection. With human affection, and all the facilities can be very useful, very constructive, or will produce good result. Without a human affection, then material facility alone not satisfy. Will not produce our mental peace or happiness, And in some cases, without human affection, some other facility even creates more trouble. So therefore, the human affection is the key thing. Now here, I think the one level of spiritual value, or the deeper human value. Now here, one level, the faith, the various different religions. I think there is important role for various world major religions. Now, in order to make effective contribution for benefit of humanity from religious side, I think two things are important. One, the individual practitioner themselves, including myself, so the practitioner of various different religions, they ourselves must practice sincerely. So the religious teaching must be a part of our life, should not make separate. When we go in a church or temple, and few moments, some kind of prayer, some kind of spiritual feeling, then outside the temple, nothing there. So that's not the proper way. The religious message must be wherever you are, the religious teaching must be there. When we really require the blessing, or the inner strength, then if religion become part of our life, then they constantly there. So it can be really effective. So this is one thing. And also, in order to know the deeper experience, about the various religious meaning or spiritual value, they not only through intellectual level, but rather through experience, deeper experience. So sometimes, we take different religious idea just on either too much superficial on the intellectual level. So without the deep, feeling, then the religious effectiveness become limited. So therefore, the sincere practice, or practice sincerely, and yes, the religion become part of your life. So that's, I think, one important. Then the second thing, now this moment, at present time, because I think technology and also the economy situation, the world much closer one another. The different countries, it's a different continent now, they become very, very close to one another. In reality, the survival of one region of the world depend on others. Therefore, the world become much closer, much dependent on one another. So naturally, the human contact comes.
More effectively, more
so,
closely.
I mean, the more human contact now, happen. So under such circumstances, the kind of pluralism,
different kinds of religion.
No, the pluralism, I think, some kind of pluralism among religions, I think, concept among religions. I think that's very important. In previous time, when we remain isolated, then the idea just one religion, that of course useful. But now the situation is changed, different. So the concept of different religions, existence of different religions, is very, very crucial. And then in order to develop the genuine mutual respect, the close contact between various different religions is very, very essential. According to my own experience, when I was in Tibet, when I have no contact with people from different religious faith, then my attitude towards other religion is, I think I should say, is not the right one, not very positive. But when I have the opportunity meeting with different people from different faith, and especially through the personal contact, and they learn from personal experiences, then they is really change my attitude towards other religion. So then I realize how much usefulness, how much potential to make a contribution for better world, for humanity. Now obviously, the last several centuries, various different religions made, I think, marvelous contribution for better human being. But at the same, and even today, the Christianity, Muslim, the Judaism, and the Buddhism, and the Hinduism, and so forth, the different religions, various different religions, still, the large number of followers of each religion is there. Today, the millions of people getting benefit from these different religions. This is fact. So therefore, my meeting, the late Thomas Merton. Thomas Merton, really is beautiful, is a wonderful person. And also another occasion, I met in Spain, and I think the one famous monastery, Montserrat or something. There I met one Catholic monk. Then I was told that Catholic monk remained few years in the kind of the hill, just behind that temple. When I was there, he especially came to see me, and his English is, I think, even worse than my English. So compare him, my English is marvelous. So I have more courage to speak with him. So we just stay face to face, and I inquired, what those few years, what you are doing in the mountain, and he told me, meditation on compassion, on love. While he answered these few sentences, through his eye, I got the message, or I got the some kind of the communication. I really developed genuine admiration to such people. So, and of course, so therefore, now this is something, to me, this is some kind of confirmation. The various different religion has the potential to produce such a nice person, irrespective of what kind of philosophy. So therefore, the various different religions have such a wonderful message. Now, for example, from the Buddhist viewpoint, the concept of creator is something, logical.
No.
Logical, Maris.
Illogical.
Not logical, from the Buddhist viewpoint, yes. Sorry. He's very helpful. So, the other day, again I made a great mistake. you see, birth and the death. I made a mistake. The word is birth and the death. Instead of saying birth, I used death. Disgraceful, isn't it? So you see, from the Buddhist viewpoint, now that kind of concept is a little bit difficult to understand. But the thing is, the important thing is, those people, who follow those teachings which the basic fundamental faith is Creator. Now, for these people, there is beautiful sort of, way of approach, very effective. Now the individual human being, created by God. And also, very recent, I learned from one, my Christian friend, that they do not accept the rebirth theory. They do not accept the previous lives. So they only accept this life. So this very life, created by God, by Creator. So that, that developed some kind of, the feeling of intimacy with God. Then, the most important teaching, since God's wish, we, here, our future, depend on the Creator. Now, because the Creator is something, something holy or something that it is supreme. So therefore, we must have love to God. But then immediately, another word, love to fellow human being. Now, to me, I think the real message is love to fellow human being. Now, in order to do that, the reason is, if you love to God, you must love to fellow human being. So those people, who say love to God, but who do not show the genuine love towards fellow human being, I think that faith is questionable. So if the person sincerely believe in God and love to God, then that person must demonstrate how sincerity about his or her love to God through his or her love towards fellow human being. So this kind of way of approach is so powerful, isn't it? So therefore, like this, each religion, if we look from various angles, not only one's own, viewpoint, or one's own philosophical sort of angle. If you look from various viewpoints, then it is obviously, it is very clear that all major religions have such potential, to make better human beings. I think this is very, so through close contact, then there is possibility, to develop this kind of, mental attitude. So this is very useful to develop mutual respect. And to me, the close contact with different religions, religious tradition. Then I also learned, new ideas, new practice or new, method or technique, which can adopt in my own practice. Now, similarly, some of my Christian brothers, sisters, they adopt a certain Buddhist method. Now, for example, the method of one-pointedness of mind. And also it's a certain technique to improve the tolerance and compassion and love, these things. So, various different religions come together, come closer. There is a lot of benefit. Not only, they not only develop their harmony, but other benefits also there. So therefore, as the politicians and the national leaders, often say the coexistence and come together. So why not? We're a religious person. Also, I think time has come, must come together. Now, like I very much impressed the RCC as the sort of prayer by the leaders and the representative of various world religions is to come together and pray together. I don't know the word prayer. I don't know whether you see the exact word or right word or I don't know. In any way, to me, you see, come together, one place, and according one's own, you see, they believe, you see, pray. So that kind of, you see, the practice, I think now, already now, come into force, right? Happening. So this is, I think, a very positive development. So still, you see, we need more effort, you see, to develop this kind of, you see, the harmonies of closer relation. Otherwise, we have so many, you see, problems or so many reasons to divide humanity. Suppose religion is the remedy, only remedy, you see, to reduce the human conflict. If you see, that only remedy itself become another source of conflict, that's disaster. So in the past and today also, sometimes because of religion, because of different religions, sometimes you see conflict also you see happen. So this is, I think, very, very sad. And as I mentioned earlier, if we think broadly, if we think, you see, deeply, then previous time situation and today's situation is entirely different. Therefore, now you see, it is very, very important to realize the very close work or close relation between various different religions is very essential, so that from the various different religious groups can make common effort for benefit of humanity. Now, this is the one level of value of spiritual. I think spiritual. Sometimes when although I use certain English word, in deep down, I'm not very sure whether that word is really convey my idea or not. But in any way, can't help. So now the second level of spiritual, I personally consider this is more important than the first one, because the first one, no matter how wonderful, still is it they accepted by limited humanity, limited number of human beings. Perhaps I think out of 5 billion, I think the majority of the 5 billion of human beings, I think, do not accept any religions. Their family background, maybe you see, they say, I'm Hindu, I'm Buddhist, I'm Christian, but in individual cases, I do not think, you see, many of these people, you see, they deep down, not necessarily any religious faith. So this is, all right, okay, this is the individual right. Whether you accept any religion or not, it is an individual right. Now, all those, you see, the ancient masters, like you see, Buddha or Mahavir or Jesus Christ or Muhammad, you see, these great masters, you see, came. And even, you see, these masters failed to become, to make entire human being become religious-minded. So today, nobody can do like that. So you see, that's fact. This is fact. Then you see, the question, you see, those unbelievers, those people who, whether you call atheist, that doesn't matter. You see, atheist, sometimes according an English scholar, the Buddhist also a kind of atheist, since they do not accept Creator. So sometimes I add, you see, one more word, that is extreme atheist. So you see, not only atheist, but extreme. So you see, do not accept any value of spirituality. So in any way, so you see, those people, also they part of human being. And they also, have the desire to have happy life, peaceful life. And so, now, this is now the important thing. I always believe, now, remain as a non-believer is perfectly all right. But important thing is, so long you are part of human being, so long you are human being, you see, you need human affection, human compassion. This is actually the essence of all religious teaching, tradition. Now, compassion or human affection is the crucial point. Even religious belief without a human affection, that religious belief sometimes can become destructive. So the essence, even in religion, the good heart, this is the essence. So, you see, the human affection or compassion is, I consider, is the universal religion. Whether believer or unbeliever, everyone needs human compassion or human affection. Because, you see, the compassion give us inner strength, compassion give us hope, and compassion is give us mental peace, inner peace. So really useful. Now, for example, you see, we can examine in our daily life. From the morning, you see, if our mood is good and happy, if some kind of, you see, the warm-hearted feeling is there, then that day automatically our inner door is opened. So therefore, even, you see, the not so friendly person, that day, if that come, you see, you may not get so much disturbance. And even you can say, you see, nice word with that. You can chat with that person. You see, the meaningful conversation. But the day, you see, your mood is not so positive, and somehow, you see, some kind of irritation inside, then automatically closed our inner door. As a result, even your best friend approach to you, you feel uncomfortable. So now this shows our inner attitude makes great differences. So therefore, in order to create pleasant atmosphere within oneself or within our family, within our community, the prime mover or the ultimate sources of that is within individual ourselves. So good heart, human compassion. Then once, you see, you create some kind of the friendly atmosphere, positive atmosphere, then it automatically helps to reduce fear or reduce sense of insecurity. And through that way, you see, we can bring easily more friend, more smile. After all, we are social animal. Without a human friend, without a human smile, as our life becomes miserable. You know, the lonely feeling. You see, the nature law, according to nature law, we have to live. Depending on another human being. That is fact. That's law. Under such circumstances, you see, due to something wrong inside, so you see, your attitude towards other fellow human beings is something hostile. How individual, you see, person get peace of mind or happy life under such circumstances, under such, you see, mental attitude? So therefore, I think according to basic human nature or human law, the affection or compassion is the key thing. Then again, now, I think another is the reason. Now, according to a medical doctor, now the mental state or peace of mind is very good for this body, for the health. So the agitative mind occur constantly, that very harmful, you see, one's own health. So even from health viewpoint, the mental calmness, you see, peacefulness is very important. So this shows this very body appreciate human affection, human peace of mind. So therefore, you see, if we look at the basic human nature, I believe human nature is more gentleness rather than aggressive. I often, you see, half joke, half I think serious. You see, I usually telling or make an example. If we examine the various different form of animal, those animal who are more peaceful nature, you see, their body's structure is developed accordingly. And those animal who prey on other animal, you see, their body structure developed accordingly. Now, like tiger or like deer, you see, there is big differences. You see, their physical, you see, structure. Then, when we examine our own body's situation, body's, you see, the structure, if we examine, now we are closer to the like deer or rabbit. Even it's our teeth, isn't it? You see, this is not meant for, like you see, tiger, isn't it? Our nails also, you see, for example, you see, my nail, I cannot, you see, even to catch a rat, very difficult, isn't it? Because it's a human intelligence. We utilize all sorts of method. Then we can do many things. Otherwise, the physical alone is very difficult, isn't it? Even sometimes, you see, catching bad bug. My relation with bad bug is very negative. so when I, you see, try to catch up with a bad bug, or his or her ability is much stronger than me. so therefore, you see, our physicals, you see, the situation, we belong the gentle, the gentle animal.
Category.
That category. So, I think, so you see, this is I think, the basic human structure. Then, today's world situation. Now, in the field of economy, in the field of education, in many fields, the cooperation is essential. Now, it seems to me hardly now the concept of importance of defense now more or less gone. You see, like the idea of, you see, unified whole Western Europe. This is, I think, truly marvelous. Now, I think timely, because the idea is something
very timely.
Very timely. So this, you see, the close work, not come out of, how to say, compassion or out of, how to say, out of religious faith, but because of necessity. So therefore, the world itself now tendency or trend, you see, the more, the global nature. So under such circumstances, you see, the closer relation, one another. Now this is something, now the question of our own survival. So therefore, the concept of the sense of universal responsibility based on compassion, based on sense of brotherhood, sisterhood, is, I think, very, very essential. So, and again, now many conflict due to ideology, due to religion. Even if the conflict within family, some kind of, one wanted this, one wanted that, and that also sometimes make conflict. So, from the viewpoint of sources of conflict, there are a lot of sources there. Even within oneself, there is a lot of sources of conflict within ourselves. Therefore, at the meantime, we also have the potentiality or ability to unify. These things are relative. So, one way, there are a lot of sources of conflicts. And at the same time, there are a lot of sources which unify. So now time is come, to think more, or to emphasize, to stress more on the points of unifying. So therefore, now here also the basic thing is human affection. For example, ideologically or religiously, two different opinions. If you respect others' right, if you sincerely compassion, show compassionate attitude towards that person, then his or her idea, whether suitable oneself, it doesn't matter. It's a secondary. So long that person believe in it, so long that person get benefit from that viewpoint, absolutely right, his or her right. So we must respect that. So the different viewpoints, or in economy, someone, also the other party also must get some profit, because they also have to live. So that kind of I think the wider perspective on the basis of compassion, then I think the things become much more easier. So there also the compassion is key factor. Then today, fortunately, now we can think or we can talk seriously about the demilitarization, idea of demilitarization. 5 years ago, I think 2 years ago, difficult to think about it. But now, two superpower who have nuclear power, that now gone. Now only these superpower remain. But America, of course, I think basically, I always telling American friend, your strength not necessarily come from nuclear weapon, but the ancestors, the noble idea, the freedom, liberty, democracy. So with these, I think, with these factor, with these noble idea. So, in fact, last year when I was in the United States, when I had opportunity meeting with President Bush, we discussed about the new order.
New world order.
New world order. Then I mentioned to him new world order, new world order with compassion is very good. New world order without compassion is not very sure. So this is the America. So in any way now the time as time becomes something ripening. To talk or to think about the demilitarization. Now already there is sign the they reduce weapons, and eventually, like as a first step, denuclearize. This is difficult to me.
Denuclearize.
Oh yes, that word. I have to make farewell for that word. So then you see, step by step, you see they reduce weapon. And finally, if our globe, small world, small planet, free any form of weapon, I think that should be our goal. This does not mean they abolish all form of I mean, you see, we may need, since among humanity, some mischievous people, some mischievous group of people always there. So, in order to make, precaution or safeguard from these sources, I think we can create some kind of the international police forces, which you see controlled by collectively, not necessarily belong one nation, but first on the basis of regional, then eventually like United Nations, or if necessary create some other new world body, international body, and control from that. So you see, there is no danger of military conflict between nation to nation. And if there is no weapon availability, then civil war also, you see, will not come. So therefore, then I think up to now, war remain part of human history, sadly, unfortunately. But now I think the time may come, you see, to change that kind of concept. Usually, you see, the people's attitude towards war, I think this is something wrong. Sometimes the people consider war is something glorious. And through war, some people become hero. I think that concept is wrong. The other day, I met one interviewer. At that time, you see, the interviewer, they prepared one question that Westerner very much fear about death. Easterner, seems not much fear about death. Then I jokingly told him, it seems to me, Western mind, war and military establishment is something important. War means death. That death also by kill, not natural death. So it seems you do not fear about death because you're so much fond about war. We Easterner, particularly Tibetan, we can't think war. We can't think, fighting. Because, the result of war means disaster. Death or injuries and misery. So therefore, the concept of a war in our mind is something really negative. So that means we have more fear about death. Isn't it? So therefore, I think, sometimes, unfortunately, I think due to certain factor, our concept about war is something, I think, not right one. So therefore, I think now, the time has come to think seriously about the demilitarization. Now, I myself, after the Gulf, crisis happened, and I felt, very strongly, of course, everybody blamed Saddam Hussein. Of course, Saddam Hussein also is negative. I think many mistakes or many wrong things he did. After all, he is a dictator. Of course, bad. However, without his military establishment, without his weapon, he cannot be that kind of a dictator. So who supplied these weapons? They also have the responsibility. Some Western nation. So they supplied. Regardless what consequences, just thinking money, profit, making profit from selling weapon. It's really awful. So one time, I met one French lady. who spent many years in Lebanon. She told, then you see the Lebanon crisis still there. So she told me, sadly, in same city, one corner, some people making profit from selling weapon. The same city, the innocent people, day by day killing. That she told me. So the same planet, the innocent people, through this beautiful bullet, killing. The other hand, the other side is some people live lavish life, lavish way of life, on the profit of money from selling these arms. Oh, I can't understand. Isn't it? So therefore, I think as a first step, I think they stop selling weapon. I think fortunately, Australia, I think do not much exporting weapon. I don't think. Isn't it? Sometimes like Sweden, my close friend, Swedish friend, I sometimes joke, oh, you are really, during the difficult period, you remain neutral. Wonderful. And you always they consider importance of human rights and world peace. Very good. But meantime, you are selling many weapons. This is a little bit has a contradiction. So therefore, so you see, since then, I myself, some kind of internal pledge. You see, that rest of my life committed or contribute for the idea of demilitarization. So as far as my own country is concerned, now I make up my mind, or I decided in the future Tibet should be completely demilitarized one. So in this field, also, the key factor is human compassion. Now here I would like to, I think it have to explain. About the meaning of compassion. Now this is usually, sometimes people misunderstood. The genuine compassion is not based on our own mental projection, but rather based on the other side's right. Irrespective whether that person is close friend or enemy of you, but so long that person or that being is, the desire of peace, desire for happiness, and the desire for overcome suffering. And then, on that basis, they developed genuine concern about his or her, the problem. Now, that's genuine compassion. The other one is some close friend, towards close friend, is some kind of concern developed. That is rather, attachment, not compassion. So even marriage, those marriage who last long. Now there, although attachment there, but some compassion also there, so that that marriage remain long. Then those marriage, very short, short period marriage. Now these, because of lack of compassion, just emotional attachment. So the attachment is so long, attachment is there. This is some kind of very, very close friend, one another. Then due to small factor, that the mental projection change. So as soon as the mental projection change, your attachment is no longer there. Because it's based on mental projection. So therefore, the compassion without attachment, and similarly, anger without hatred. This distinction or make clear, I think is useful in our daily practice. So that I consider the basic spiritual value. So irrespective whether believer or non-believer, that's important. So that's about my talk. Thank you very much. Now, few questions.
Your Holiness, you had agreed earlier to answer a few questions, and a few questions have been handed. The first one is rather long. I'll try to make it as clear as possible. Dear Holiness, you were talking about positive and negative emotions this afternoon, and if I understood correctly, we should get away from negative emotions. This would of course be a good thing, but doesn't this mean we lose positive emotions at the same time, as feelings are relative, and in order to experience happiness, you have to have a comparison with other more negative emotions. If you were always happy, you would not know what happiness is. How can we have one without the other? If we were to give up feelings, would that not reduce us to madness? If we reduce the intensity of negative emotions, doesn't this bring along a reduction in positive emotions? Dilemma? Question mark.
Mashanda, the shaking jolly, to put you in dondons, to push on any cute thing must have to do as it.
In fact, there's a Tibetan saying that when you undergo suffering, then you realize the importance of happiness.
So, you see, as you mentioned, you see, that's, something, a certain point is there. But however, you see, this is rather, you see, difficult subject. You see, this afternoon, when I explained, you see, these things according from the Buddhist viewpoint, from Buddhist practitioner. So from the Buddhist viewpoint, the negative emotion, you see, considered as the ultimate source of the suffering or pain. So therefore, you see, if there is possibility to remove from our mind all these negative emotion, it is it's worthwhile.
Thank you, Your Holiness. The second question says, Shakyamuni Buddha taught that Buddhist monks should concentrate on Dharma matters and not involve themselves in secular life, for example, politics. Why do you seem to contradict his teachings by involving yourself in such matters? Yours in the Dharma.
Now, what is Dharma? Dharma, certainly, just you see, sitting in a temple or in a corner, just to meditate, just a prayer. Not only that, Dharma, I think, means something useful, something constructive, something helpful. So therefore, no matter what human action, so long you see it's helpful, it's serving or benefiting to someone, that is Dharma. That action is Dharma, provided sincere motivation. So as I mentioned earlier, like you said, the work of teacher, the work of that is not Dharma work. And also, you know, the different human activities, such as politics, such as science and technology, or education and health, and even warfare, with human feeling, or another word, humanized, these become constructive. If you lack the proper motivation, even religious teaching also become destructive. So therefore, to me, the political work, not necessarily itself something dirty, something wrong, something, the anti-religious work. I do not think. After all, you see, no matter we people, sometimes you see complain about dirty politics. But we have to some form of politics there, isn't it? The politics, I think they one instrument which suppose solving conflict within a human being, within a human community. So the politics carried by sincere motivation, truthful, honest, that politics become constructive. So therefore, this is a general explanation. Then my own case, you see, my involvement in some form of politics. Now this is not a party politics, but this is rather national survival, question of national survival, or question of the survival of Tibetan culture. So this I consider, you see, part of my own religious practice. Because if Tibetan national struggle is purely politics, or purely, politics, without much involvement about the humanitarian problem as well as the spiritual, Buddhism, particularly Buddhism, then, yes, I may not join this national struggle. But because Tibetan national struggle is one aspect, Tibetan freedom, national struggle. But other aspect of this is Buddha Dharma. Since Tibetan lost their freedom, how much damage happened in Buddha Dharma? Obviously, everybody knows. So therefore, the Tibetan national struggle is essentially the struggle for spiritual. Therefore, this Buddhist monk. So I consider, it is a part of my service towards Buddhism, towards Buddha Dharma. So this is it's my feeling, my conviction. Then, when Tibet got freedom, I already decided I will no longer, as a leader of the Tibetan government, if I remain as a leader of the Tibetan government, that will be another obstacle for healthy democratic sort of development. So the last more than 30 years, as soon as I came to India, even when I was in Tibet, from my childhood, I'm the admirer of democracy. So therefore, since I came to India, I made several attempts and several work for democratization. Especially the last few years, I made a lot of work for democratization. So in the future, as soon as I return to Tibet, I will hand it over all my legitimate authority to the interim government. And that interim government, within 2 years, will get General Assembly through election. Then that assembly will adopt the future Tibetan constitution. So in the future, I feel when there no danger about Tibetan spirituality or Tibetan Buddhist
culture,
Buddhist culture or Buddhist culture, then if I remain, if I involve in some form of politics, then it really becomes the party politics. So I do not want to join. So that is the explanation. The next question.
Your Holiness, how can new technology reconcile itself with your understanding of the spiritual?
What?
How can new technology reconcile itself with your understanding of the spiritual?
New technology?
Technology.
What do you mean? I don't know.
I
love technology. You see, I think my finger, particularly these, 3 finger, I think quite efficient way, quite efficient for for school driver. This is doing something, you see, something. But sometimes, you see, more damaging. But otherwise, you see, so you see, I think they almost like, I think, birth gift were.
Gifted from birth.
Gifted from birth. You see, I found, you see, the mechanic things. So modern technology, I love modern technology, and I appreciate, you see, because of modern technology, now we come much closer, and many problems, I think many human problems, reduce through modern technology. Now here, one problem is the modern technology alone not sufficient. Now this is my conviction. Modern technology must be controlled by human being with human feeling. The human value must above on the technology. If human being becomes slave of modern technology, that is a disaster. So the human value must above always. So then, you see, therefore, the internal spiritual development and modern technology or scientific material development must go side by side or more balanced way. That's our future. That's my conviction. Last question. Now last question. Yes, last two questions. Okay, two questions. No?
Your Holiness, your country, Tibet, is occupied. Tibetans have lost their freedom. Temples have been devastated. Would you ever allow the use of force to regain the freedom and identity of Tibetans?
Never. The violence. Violence. Firstly, the violence I consider against human nature, as I mentioned earlier. My basic conviction, this one thing. Then secondly, through violence, you may solve one problem, but very often it creates another problem. So some kind of the strong pill, it may helpful reduce some illness, but side effect immense. So similar thing. Then another thing, particularly in our case, Tibetan case, the violence, they're almost like suicidal. And then most important thing is, any human conflict should solve through human understanding. So that once you solve that problem, you see, there is real opportunity to work together, harmoniously, friendly, peacefully. If you achieve something through violence, then automatically some kind of scarcity, scar, wound, the other side, something there. So sooner or later, you see, some kind of, you see, the countermeasures. So some kind of negative feeling or negative event, sooner or later may develop. So then, you see, the Chinese and Tibetan, whether we like it or not, we have to live side by side. In the past, so many centuries, we live like that. In the future also, we have to live like that. So under such circumstances, you see, we must live harmoniously, friendly, on the basis of mutual trust, mutual understanding. If we utilize violence, it will be great damage for that kind of, situation. So therefore, I always against, you see, using violence.
Your Holiness.
Yes, now last question.
This is kind of a double-barreled question. Sort of two questions in one. In view of the fact that there are 12,000 people inside the Tenor Centre tonight and 9,000 people outside, what would you like the people of Melbourne to do to help you in your causes, and when would you like to come back and visit us again?
Thank you. You see, your concern about is my country. Now, now perhaps some of you may know, you see, last more than 12 years, you see, I made every effort to reach some kind of compromise with Chinese government. And for that, I made you see, some proposals. At least you see, 2 proposals made public. So whenever I brought some concrete you see, proposal, then unfortunately Chinese government always find some difficulties. So far, you see, the genuine sort of the negotiation is not materialized. So meantime, you see, many Chinese now is showing their concern about the Tibetan problem. I think those genuine Chinese also showing their genuine sympathy and genuine concern about the Tibetan nation, about the Tibetan culture, and particularly Tibetan Buddhism. So recently, I had some communication. Some Chinese in mainland China who really they respect about Tibetan Buddhism and who very very eager to learn Tibetan Buddhism. So they that kind of now situation. But the government side, of course, I think due to their losing self-confidence, so they are relying more and more using force. They simply do not consider others' viewpoint and no courage to listen others' viewpoint, others' reason. They simply they ignore these things and relying on just ruthless method. So this unfortunately. So therefore, the world opinion is now very, very become very important. So sometimes I'm telling our supporters that as a Buddhist we have three refuges, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Now under present circumstances, the 4th refuge should be there. That is the world community. So therefore, now because my every effort to reach some compromise with Chinese government, now up to now more or less failed. Therefore, now I have to turn my appeal to the world community. So I very, very appreciate and inspired your concern. Now here, your practical thing. One thing, those people who know something about Tibet, you further, further educate to more people. What is the real situation? That's one thing. Then, if you find not much money problem, then go to Tibet and see many places as much as you can. Then, after return, what you saw there, then tell the world. This is one way. Then another, practical thing. They already, they very supportive, parliamentarians, and also some the other organizations who are very, very actively support about Tibetan cause, and including human rights. So in this field, you can you can appeal these things. To these people, and then another thing, like many other countries, in Australia also the Tibetan support group, Australian Tibetan Council is there. So very, very active, active supporter. So therefore, you can join. Either you can join or you can communicate with this organization. Since they are actively, they involved regarding the Tibetan issue. So your energy can channelize through that way is very, very helpful, very useful. So that's all. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that concludes tonight's public talk. I thank you very much on behalf of His Holiness for coming. I would just like to say to any of you who were not able to get one of these from your seat, they're being handed out, I believe, in the information counter. Those of you who have asked to give donations, there will be people at the front who are happy to take them. And a special message to those of you in the audience who have Chinese as your first language. There are free copies of His Holiness's biography being distributed in the Chinese language, being distributed at the information counter. Thank you very much. One last thing. I wonder if I could ask you to put your hands together for Alan Malloy and his team of workers who put this event on for us. Dr. Malloy. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.